This podcast contains swear words.
Well, hello, fancy people, and welcome to Talking Shit with Cheyenne, a podcast about making shit up, living as well as we're getting by, and supporting each other, sharing ideas, connecting as much as possible, because frankly, that's the lifeline. I really believe that. I, of course, am coming from the perspective of a performing artist, but the ideas and themes and hot tips apply to everyone, all of us. Whether you consider yourself an artist or not, you probably are. Life is a creative act. And I am your host, Cheyenne Friedenberg, and who am I? Today, I'm a creator. I make dancey stuff. I make talky stuff. I make comedy stuff. I love to teach you this stuff. I write stuff. And I'm training to be a fitness coach. I also like to lift things. And I'm here on the unceded stolen territory of the Musqueam, Tsleil-Waututh, and Squamish peoples on the west coast of Turtle Island. And before I dive into my magnificent interview, well, she's magnificent, made the interview magnificent. My interview with Christina Cook. Before I dive into that, just a little reminder to please share, rate, review, star, thumbs up, ring the bell. I don't know what you can do. Do a little dance. That probably won't affect the algorithm, but I feel like if you do a little dance, it's going to make your life better. And if you have the means and the desire to donate, it makes a huge difference. Arts funding is these days. Upper right-hand corner of our website, www.terracheyenne.com. You can hit that donate button. We'll also put the link in the show notes. Okay, today's guest is my friend, Christina Cook, she, they. Christina is a theater artist. She's a scholar, therapist, delightful human being, a fantastic playwright. We're going to talk a bit about her plays in our interview. And our mutual friend describes Christina as a human glass of champagne. Bubbly, effervescent, just right. Christina's playwriting focuses on trans, non-binary, and gender non-conforming narratives, and her work advocates gender liberation for all. She's writing and performing in her newest piece, Postcards, which will be premiering, put it in your calendars, August/September 2026. Christina's previous writing credits include the play Quick, Bright Things, which was nominated for a Governor General's Award. She's really amazing. I could go on. I will put her bio in our show notes. And we also talk about her new play in our interview. Enjoy. Christina Cook. Welcome to Talking Shit with Cheyenne, the Christina Cook. Okay, so I have a lot of questions for you. First off, counseling psychologist, PhD, master's degree, performer, playwright, Star Trek fan.
Big Star Trek fan.
Yeah, we will get into that. We'll get into that. Right now, you are a professor at the Adler University.
Yeah.
You just started.
Yeah, just in September.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. So educator, all these things. What are you most excited about in your life, in your creative life right now?
I'm always most excited about the new play that I'm
Yeah.
Because it's always the most, it's that the new piece that you're working on, like, the new piece that you're working on is the one that you're falling in love with, right? It's the honeymoon phase. It's the like, you're in that flirtatious, it's so exciting and spontaneous and surprising and romantic. And so the new piece I'm working on is called Proof Enough. And I describe it as a mid-century modern trans epic that's set in a newspaper's publisher office at the end of the 1970s, beginning of the 1980s. And this trans woman inherits this newspaper. And we see what happens when she publishes her first edition of the newspaper.
Awesome.
It's going to be really fun. So that's what I'm most excited about.
Right. That's such a good analogy with creation is that it's like you're falling in love.
Yeah.
And let's think about that same analogy with your play Postcards, which is finished, is you're producing it this coming August 2026, right?
Yes, if we can get a bit more grant funding, we're gonna go for it.
Come on.
Yeah.
Come on.
Canada Council, if you're listening.
Yeah, Canada Council.
Come through.
I have some thoughts about Canada Council. They really need to step up.
Well, I mean, come on. I feel the same way.
I know.
I do. I do. I mean, probably we might both feel this way because we have applications pending or recently received.
Recently received. Yeah, just so you know, Canada Council, both Christina and I are kind of giving you side eye right now.
Yes, very much so. Very much so. And I think that the side eye is warranted and should be,
100%.
Something that we all take back and reflect on a little bit.
Yeah, that's all we're asking.
Yeah.
Little critical reflection. Okay, so in the love affair with Postcards,
Yes.
where is the relationship at?
So Postcards, I've been working on since 2021 now.
Okay,
So I can't say that I'm in the honeymoon phase with Postcards anymore. And this doesn't always happen. I'm happy to, sometimes my love affairs become sort of on and on again, off again relationships that you just don't, you don't text back, they don't text back. And then all of a sudden, for some reason, it's the summertime and you're like, okay, let's go. Let's do it again. Let's do it for a few months. Here we go.
Yeah.
But with Postcards, it really has been like, okay, this is like, I am definitely in a poly relationship with Postcards and my other creative work. And it feels like a really long-term, deep romance now with that play. Because I just love the way that play to me feels like where I really left behind a certain phase of my creative practice and embraced a different phase. And it feels like the doorway, that Postcards was the doorway between those two phases of my creative practice. And Postcards, in offering me that doorway, just was so life-giving and permission-giving in that it allowed me to connect with different styles of writing that I hadn't allowed myself to explore in a long time. I felt like I could let go of commitment to narrative that was linear. I felt like I could let go of concerns about how much I love to embrace poetic imagery in my playwriting. And I felt like I could really give myself permission to challenge the folks that I was sharing the work with. And I feel like I have been shy about that before.
Okay.
But I really want my pieces, at least at this point in my career, to be challenging. Like I think that our work should challenge and not necessarily have all the answers laid out for folks. I'm okay if the poetic image hangs in the air and doesn't have an immediate solution or immediate connection to a very linear or literal meaning for people. And I think that that's a push and pull, right? Because there's so much media right now, so much culture that offers us up all of the answers.
Yeah, totally right.
And that's such a relief. I mean, I love that too.
Yeah,
It's so wonderful to watch Celebrity Traders. My partner and I are just binging Celebrity Traders right now. Alan Carr on that show. So funny. So funny. So funny. But I want my piece to be more transformational than that. Not in that it has to cause transformation, although that would be wonderful.
Sure. Yeah.
But that it can be really fluid and hard to hold in a particular container.
Oh, God, you're so poetic, both in your writing and your speaking. I love it. And also, this is only audio, but Christina's doing amazing things with her hands. The dancer choreographer in me. I think it's so important, the whole idea of being legible and also having an opacity.
Yes.
I just got my MFA yesterday, so there's residue.
All the applause, all the congratulations. No, this is a huge deal, everyone. Yes, Sarah.
But it's about you right now.
No.
But it's about you. But can you talk a little bit about that? The idea of legibility in art making, and that wanting the audience to receive something, but also leaving all that space for, I feel like your work leaves all this space for people to inhabit their own experience with the work. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Thank you for saying that. I hope that that's what my pieces offer. And I think part of what I strive for when I'm trying to find that balance, because I think there is a tension there, like you're saying, between legibility and then what we leave opaque, or what we leave as an open question or possibilities. And I think I very much want folks who are watching my work to feel like, okay, Christina is walking with us on this journey. We're going side by side. It's not like we're playing catch up or trying to solve some kind of riddle that's been put there just for us to solve it, or to feel like we're being tested or challenged in some way. Nothing like that at all. It's this idea that I think we can walk beside each other. Like as artists, we can walk with our audiences, or we can walk with our fellow collaborators, or whoever communities that we're connected to, and also say, this is the piece that we're creating. What does this piece bring up for you? That's what I want my work to have give the permission to feel that freedom of like, okay, I'm seeing these images and it sounds like they could mean this sort of thing for Christina, but they also mean this sort of thing for me. And all of that exists as possible responses. I don't think that so much of my work currently is informed by autobiographical experiences.
Yeah.
And I don't think that the actual literal details of the experience are all that necessary. I think like splashes or like freeze frames from a specific autobiographical experience can be really interesting if they're taken out of context.
Yes.
And just put up on stage or put in a piece or somehow represented in a narrative. And then we can do what we're talking about, embrace that opacity where people can read themselves onto those moments and feel permission to say, okay, this is also speaking to me about something that I'm feeling. Because I ultimately, like one of my philosophies right now, or my assumptions, is that we all share a lot of similar experiences, but language kind of gets in the way of us feeling like we can talk about some of the similarities. Like, as far as I'm concerned, everyone's trans. And we just, everyone's trans, and we're just using different language for our gender. We all have an experience of transness in our lives.
Yeah.
And so those gestures towards opacity, I feel like, allow permission to thinking about how our own experiences, our own narratives could be transformational, or in some way transition across different spaces or identities.
Yes. Oh, I love that so much. Just like the potency of inviting that participation, that what you said of like walking beside is so beautiful. And it feels like also a big leap forward from this idea, I think, in education, that we grow up thinking we have to figure out something, we have to understand it, we have to know the answer. and then, don't want to participate in whatever it is. And I feel like this happens in art a lot because you think, oh, I don't understand that. I don't understand experimental theater or, definitely like with contemporary. Oh, I don't understand that. So I'm either going to make a snide comment about it or I'm just not going to participate instead of the invitation to be like, well, you're actually part of this and whatever experience you're having with it is totally valid.
Mm-hmm.
As a parent too, it's like, how do we foster that in kids and people so they can participate?
Yes. I completely agree with you that so much about the education system and the education system specifically to do with art is about assuming that there's some kind of analysis process that we can go through and then we'll get to an ultimate meaning or an ultimate answer, the correct answer or the right answer or the artist's intention. I mean, I think that those questions could be potentially useful for some pieces sometimes, but overarchingly, it's not really what I think that we want to engage with when we're experiencing a work of art. And it's, I think, horrendous that we all have to go through this education system where we're told how to interact with pieces of art. And we're told, we're told like, you're going to be tested on this, or you should write an essay on this, or you should have a response that is like blank and blank. And it's so far from being an audience member or being a witness to something or being in dialogue with something yourself as a member of the audience. They're continuing a dialogue with a piece. Exactly. We all are when we're sitting in the audience. And I think that's what I hope our education system is going more towards.
Yeah.
I hope.
I hope so too. It is dialogue. It's like conversation. And maybe too, I just thought about like, oh, are we getting shitty at having conversations in general? And so then the whole idea of conversation in terms of how we interact with art and art making, I just went, oh no, because that whole thing about, I've read a couple articles about like younger folks feeling like they don't know how to sit down and have a good chin wag.
Yes, a chin wag. Yeah. Oh, yes. Let's bring back chin wag.
I know.
I don't hear that term enough.
I know. I feel like I'm starting to use like old people language.
Yes. Let's forget. We go through cycles of everything. It's time to bring back some of this language. Like
chin wag.
Yes. Yes. I've seen those articles too. And I think that there is a challenge right now that we have when we're so connected to technology in ways that we've never been before. Of course, like we're all aware of, how do we connect to each other? How do we do these basic relationship building things that are really hard for us to make space for? And often we don't prioritize in any of our education or professional development, right? We can go through all of the training programs, all of the schooling that exists and feel like we still haven't got those fundamental skills of human connection. I wish psychology was taught as a fun, like just alongside history, alongside everything from the early grades.
Absolutely. Hey.
Yeah.
So as a counseling psychologist, PhD, it's just fucking impressive. It's just so impressive. And a theater maker.
Yeah.
A performance maker. I'm sure it's all just like interconnected for you, but can you talk about, some of the kind of connective tissue between those two practices?
Yes.
For you?
Yeah. There are so many connections. And I think sometimes when I began pursuing graduate work in psychology, I would kind of keep it a secret and I wouldn't tell other people in my life generally who were artists because it felt like a little bit of it felt like I was cheating. Oh. It felt like I was engaged in something kind of illicit and that might receive a little bit of judgment or it felt like there was a gulf between them.
Right.
That some people perceived or that some people assumed existed. And I would say that my experience of it is that there's so much overlap between these disciplines. And I don't even think we need to use interdisciplinary or transdisciplinary. Those terms can be useful, but there's just the boundaries between these different fields are really fluid and malleable. And so much of what we do as artists when we engage in a creation process, or what we do as performers when we're reaching out to an audience in different ways during a performance, are skills that I use as a psychologist when I'm working with people one-on-one, or when I'm working in community spaces, certainly when I'm educating. There's so much overlap of the skills. And I think that the other thing that there's overlap with this is a sort of fundamental commitment to creation that exists across both disciplines. Of course, we recognize the creation as artistic in the work we do in performance spaces. But the creation that psychologists engage in can be very formal research, the research that's scary with numbers and statistics and what they call quantitative research, which is just a complicated word for numbers and statistics and research. Right. Or it can be something more like conversations with people, interview transcripts, something that we would even say for folks in theater looks kind of like a script on the page.
Absolutely.
And we would recognize as storytelling. And psychologists call that qualitative research, which is just a fancy word for stories being told and stories being used as a means of communicating research and allowing us to gain insight into different people's experiences.
Right.
So I think there's like a fundamental sameness in a lot of the projects that we undertake across these disciplines, especially because psychology is so interested in our life experience, our condition as human beings on this planet for the time that we're here.
Yeah.
And of course, as artists, we're interested in the same thing.
Totally right.
We're exploring the same fundamental existential questions across all of these different spheres.
It's so true. It's like the storytelling, the essential need for storytelling in life as humans, right?
Yes.
What does storytelling, you've already said a bit, but like storytelling as an essential thing we need, just like air and water and food and sleep. How would you talk about that in terms of an essential nutrient?
It is an essential nutrient. I love that.
Yeah.
that image for it, that it should be listed in the Canada Food Guide.
Totally. And how much storytelling are you getting?
Yes. Get your storytelling in there with your calcium and your protein and For me, I so much connect storytelling to emotions and our emotional experience. And emotions are fundamental human experiences. They're adaptive. They give us such important messages. We could look at them like compasses, or I think I prefer to look at them like companions, like they're keeping us company on our journey through life.
Yeah.
And as companions, they're giving us really essential messages. And I think so often when we have big emotions that are uncomfortable, we want to get rid of those emotions, or we want to feel them less somehow. And that makes total sense. It's a completely natural reaction. And also, if we can make space to sit beside those big uncomfortable emotions, we can learn from them in some way and allow them to direct us towards our values. Yeah. And I think storytelling is such an essential human nutrient because it connects us to the ability to evoke emotions. And emotions, in their adaptive value, connect us to each other. We are ultimately meant to be connected to each other. You feel an emotion and it is going to move outwards. That's its natural course. Yeah. It will come out, whether you want it to or not, in some form, whether you're aware of it or not. And stories are kind of the same thing. You can hold it in for as long as you can, but it will move outwards. It wants to connect you with the people around you. Yeah. It wants to build bridges and create relationships. And so that kind of essential nutrient is so important for us now. If we go back to how we're all faced with this world where technology is all around us and there are different ways that we're being separated, we have to invest in these really fundamental aspects of ourselves. Technology doesn't take away our emotions. It doesn't take away our storytelling ability. It doesn't take away these fundamental urges and these things radiating from us that connect us to the people around us.
Mwah. I teach this exercise that I made up when I teach just like performance folks of any kind, where you sit and one person talks without being interrupted for 2 minutes on a timer. And then the other person, after they're done witnessing or listening, they will just like move around the space in response to, as a reflection of that, what the person said. And when you were talking, I'm just reminded of what often comes up when I'm teaching that exercise is people are like, I don't think I've talked for 2 minutes without being interrupted in my living memory. So it makes me think that performing and playwriting, storytelling, like is so essential to give each other space.
Yes.
For those stories to come out and to not be, there's so many ways we kind of are silenced. So creating that space of, because it does need to come out and it will come out in some form or another.
Yeah. I think that's an amazing exercise. I'm so glad you do that with your students.
It's so fun.
Yes.
It's so fun.
Yes. And, the turn taking that we're talking about is so essential, right? That we are allowed our own space and then we allow those with us to have their space. And that gets mixed up in our online culture right now, right? There's no sort of turn taking. There's just piling on and responding in the moment and following a spontaneous impulse. We're all having spontaneous impulses all the time, folks. It doesn't mean you should follow it. Come on.
Right?
Come on.
Yeah.
Please don't type out and post that thing that you spontaneously impulse towards posting.
Yeah. Take a break.
Take a break.
Give yourself a time.
Take a break.
Yeah.
Think about turn taking. Give someone else a turn.
Totally right. I know. We could go down the whole like male privilege voices of, in the academic world, not everybody, but there was this, oh no, you just got to riff with it. No rules for the conversation. Just got to like jump in when you're inspired. And I was always like, no. I feel like I just, the great practice I learned from my blessed memory, dear friend, J.D. Derbyshire, heartbroken that we lost them. They introduced me to the end of thought thing where you talk and when you're done, you say end of thought so that nobody interrupts you until you've said that. That is a revolution, especially I think for folks who feel they don't have the permission that some other folks feel like they've just been given the permission to speak whenever they want to.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. Yeah. JD was such a brilliant artist and community activist and facilitator. And they really supported me in my early playwriting days. I owe them so much. And I think that kind of end of thought, that kind of ritual is so important to bring back into these dialogue spaces that we're talking about. It's this way that we can overturn some of the power structures that we're sort of talking around right now, like the patriarchy and all of those things that have just been in the water supply for too long. And we are all so impacted by them. Yeah. So to embrace these new rituals, these new possibilities for communicating different ways of being together and turn-taking is so powerful.
Yeah, it's so powerful. And when you say the word ritual too, that is what performance is. Yes. Like, that is like what, like making of art is this like ritual. Yeah. And then kind of makes me think too, like the container for the emotions and the narratives and the stories that come out. Yeah. Do you have any thoughts about that ritual and artistic practice for yourself?
Artistic practice and ritual are one and the same thing for me. I feel like they're very synonymous and it's a powerful connection because I want to feel like with the collaborators that I'm working with, there is ritual in even just our practice, whether that's just a kind of silly ritual that we're going to talk about this reality TV show that we've always talked about at the beginning of our workshop process and talk for like 45 minutes before we actually get to anything. That's great. That is a great ritual. Or whether it's a ritual that's a more formal checking in or a ritual that is around making sure that we're connecting on a specific area that's coming up in the piece and sits differently with different people. Those are all potential rituals that I think about when I'm thinking about creating together I think as a writer, when I'm writing, I also have different rituals that I do for myself.
Oh.
Like I love creating lists of words. One of the things that I really allowed myself to embrace in this sort of doorway into postcards was the idea that I could just go back to collecting words as the beginning and middle and even end of my writing process, that I could just allow myself to write lists of words that I liked the sound of, that had a particular image, that sometimes were opposing words together on the same line, or sometimes in relationship to one another. Yeah. They had similar sounds in the beginning or ends of them, or one part of the word, but otherwise totally distinct meanings.
Yeah.
And I think that one of the things that I love about that is it allows me the sort of freedom to engage with imagery apart from a narrative that's linear, and that I can just do this waterfall of words across different pages. So I have lists of words in my note app on my phone and in notebooks and in Word documents. And sometimes I will never open the document again. I'll just make the list and I'll either forget about it or it won't be the words that I'm looking for. But sometimes those words will become a scene, or they'll become a monologue or a dialogue. And allowing myself to come to it in that way is a way that feels like I'm not forcing myself into a strict sort of, this is what you do when you write a play. This is what you do when you create a piece of theater. This is what you do, you know. And so that, for me, is the ritual around giving myself permission to be who I am in my writing practice.
Oh, that's so good. That's so good. I feel so strongly about, for myself and like the students and stuff, or just like colleagues and stuff, everybody, all the artists I encounter, that permission. What are rituals or practices that give you permission and kind of like untether us from these, what is good playwriting? What is good choreography? I know I have to, like, even after like 100 years of doing what I do, still have to remind myself, you don't have to get up and make and memorize dance moves in order to choreograph or to dance. Like, it can be anything. You know, it can be just observation of hand gestures, you know, that you see somebody across a cafe doing. I feel like lists are really, really potent. You know, there's something about lists. Oh, we could probably go on. I know my mentor and dear friend, Denise Clark, who I do interview. You can go back and find that interview. She's so smart, but she really believes in lists as well. I'd be interested to know how many of us out there are making lists. I do the same thing. I write down words or little parts of conversations. You know how you on the street, sometimes you walk by and you catch like half a sentence. And it's just like, what?
It's so evocative.
So evocative. Fragments.
And that comes back to the legibility, opacity piece, right? There's the ability for us to read onto that fragment what we choose to, or to carry it with us and allow the meaning to transform. And I think lists are, I mean, it's not the only way in for sure, and there's no right answer. But for me, it's that way in right now, that is like, it's poetry in one form, just to have a list of it, like a shopping list is poetry. You know, there's all these ways that it is already just the act of putting words on a page. You are creating something, a piece of art already. And I think that's important too, the idea that we're working towards something that takes years, or something that takes months of this diligent work ethic that can be spontaneous. It can be something that's transient and ephemeral, and a list that is your art for the moment is a beautiful thing to try to create in a day or an hour or a second.
Which gives also that permission that you don't have to like book the studio or sit down at your computer or whatever to be making, that you might just be like in your car just about to go into an appointment and you hear or think about two words that you report. I think about the idea of creation, that we're kind of collecting fragments of our own selves, or the things that resonate, and maybe of other people or beings in images in the world. Like, there's something about collecting.
Yes. I think for me, collecting feels resonant because it feels like that is a way of honoring the different experiences that we have and the different experiences that we're witness to in our lives, whether it's that fragment on the street that we're just catching in our ear, like we were saying before, or something that's more central to our lives where we hold the whole narrative, but still are only maybe collecting a fragment of it to carry forward in our work. There's a real sense of honoring that I have through that I think is powerful when we think about the art that we create and what we carry forward in our art, because we're always highlighting something. I mean, we're selecting things and emphasizing certain things and saying that these are the things that we're carrying forward in our collection. There's importance here. Yeah. There is value here.
Yeah, like the highlighting of what are the things. So it's like collecting and then selecting.
Yes.
I feel like that might be something interesting as creators. Like, are you collecting right now or are you selecting?
Yeah.
Because there's times when we're
powerful questions. Yeah.
Maybe sometimes we're doing both. Yeah. Or maybe sometimes you're at that stage. I think sometimes with younger artists, they want to be selecting. They're like, or even editing. It's like editing, like, okay, listen. My editor, I call her Cheryl.
Cheryl.
I know Cheryl. She means well.
Yeah.
Very critical.
Very
worried.
Yes.
I often now, with the guidance of many of my dearest friends, I ask her to please leave the room.
Yes.
And we can always, we know they're there to help us, but we don't need them, especially when we're collecting.
No. I'm not sure how much we need them, but I mean, we all have this internal critic. I love that yours is called Cheryl, and I think I got an immediate image of Cheryl in my mind. Yes. That I'm not, I've got her in a specific outfit, and she's a specific age. She used to be a smoker, and she's
100%. Still a bit of a harshness. Still,
Yes. There's something so archetypal about this image of the critic that we all carry with us, and every human has it.
For sure.
And then as artists, we have to come to a specific relationship with ours because we're stepping into really vulnerable territory all the time. And we're never going to let ourselves do that if our editor is always just by our side, trying to keep us safe all the time, like we're saying. They are trying to keep us safe.
Yeah.
There's overprotection to the max.
Right.
And interference in our creative endeavors, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
Speaking about those folks that are alongside or parts of ourselves, I know that you're like a big Star Trek fan.
Oh, I love it so much.
I know. And Star Trek Next Generation, definitely impactful.
TNG.
Oh, totally. For me, it's Jean-Luc Picard.
Oh my God.
Want to be him in every way.
Yes.
But I just want to hear about you as a kid.
Yes.
Deanna Troi.
Deanna.
And now you're a counseling psychologist.
I know.
It's just, it's a beautiful narrative. Tell us that story.
I know. When I was a kid, 6 or 7, they would play reruns of TNG on Channel 12. I grew up here in Vancouver. And they played it on Channel 12 at around 5 p.m. Perfect. Every weekday were reruns. So I would come home after school and try to do all my homework so quickly so that I would be allowed to turn on the television at 5 p.m. because I was in love with Deanna Troi. I just could not believe Deanna Troi. For those who are not aware, first of all, that's what you should be using Google for right now. Go Google Deanna Troi and give yourself that treat today. Deanna Troi was a counselor, a literal therapist who sat beside Captain Picard on the Starship Enterprise through all of their journeys. So right up there with all of the crew, she was just giving out free counseling sessions. From what I could tell, didn't seem like they cost anything. She would meet people in her quarters sometimes. She would just offer counseling on the bridge of the Starship sometimes. And I was so desperate when I was a kid. I knew that I wanted to grow up to be Deanna Troi on a starship, a counselor on a starship. And I was depressed for months.
Oh.
When just a little while later, I realized I did somehow managed to do the math in my head that I wouldn't live long enough to live to the time of when Star Trek is set.
Damn it.
And I was just so upset. But I feel like I really, younger 6-year-old Christina would be so thrilled with me because
the dream.
I wanted to either be acting as a character like Deanna Troi on a Star Trek-like show, or I wanted to really counsel in the stars. So now I'm a counselor. Mm-hmm. And I can imagine sometimes through my artistic work that I'm in the space on Starship. And I can just feel like I'm really connecting to these different parts of myself. That is, I think that's why I share this story a fair amount, because it feels like a bit of an origin story to me.
Yeah.
And I think one of the things that I love about sharing this story is it feels like that was where I found permission to do these different things that I do in my life that feel disconnected or feel like, can you really go be a counselor and also write plays and also do these other things and that? But I just wanted to be Deanna Troi. I was just building Deanna Troi into my life.
And you've totally done it. That's the beautiful thing. I mean, it also speaks to the power of art, right? The power of storytelling.
Yes.
It's like, I hadn't really thought of the impact of psychologist, a counselor on a starship as like an important part of the crew. And we have so much stigma in our culture about asking for help and mental health and prioritizing those things. And there it was.
Yeah. This was the late 80s. They cast Marina Sirtis in that role.
Yeah.
It's
And she was amazing.
Amazing.
She was amazing.
Such incredible wigs. Multiple.
Those wigs,
so big, right? That had to be 2 or 3 wigs.
It took a long time to get into wardrobe and
oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. I can only imagine. Yeah.
As you were saying that, I'm like, are you going to write a sci-fi play with a psychologist? Did you ever think of that, or is it too on the nose?
No, it's not too on the nose at all. It's interesting. I definitely see myself writing sci-fi genre stuff in the future. I have, as of yet, other than Postcards where I play a version of myself, the character's name is Spilling, but it's clearly my own story.
Yeah.
I have avoided putting counselors and psychologists in my plays as characters because it's part of how I separate those different bodies of work.
Sure.
And I think that sometimes people might assume like, as a counselor, you're hearing stories all the time. That must be so good for your work as a playwright. And I just really emphasize, first of all, that would be highly unethical of me if I just allowed that all to be very fluid. Highly unethical. I teach people who are going to be counselors, so that would be a very bad
That's a line
example.
Tell me that again. I just want to get it down.
And what did you say? And what did they say? Okay, great. I got that dialogue. Can you imagine? So I just want to keep them very, very separate. And I feel like one of the ways I do that is by honestly drawing on autobiographical material so often.
Yes.
And not directly interacting with the psychology discipline in my characters, in my plays.
There's so much though, like even in Postcards, there's so much of that crackle of sci-fi.
Yes. Yes. I can't resist.
Yeah, like time travel.
Yes. Yeah.
And other realms.
Yeah.
That actually feels very psychological and very, I don't know, like there's a permeability.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, I think there's so many different, people call it magic realism or all of these different terms that we have for talking about the blending of genres.
Yeah.
Like that. And I just love it. I love when things are mashed together. I love when we can take this play I'm writing right now, Proof Enough, is taking our sort of typical newspaper story of journalists working hard for a scoop, and then they're going to put out their issues and their editions and combining it with fantasy, and they're going to be newspaper gods and all of this possibility towards different realms and sci-fi and fantasy. And that's so thrilling to me when those things can exist side by side.
Totally. Hey, just when you're talking about, magic realism and sci-fi, I mean, maybe I'm like just tripping all the time. I'm not, like, literally coffee is my only drug. But living is pretty magic realism.
Yeah.
It is pretty sci-fi.
Yes.
You know, what goes on inside, knowing that, you know, the idea that we perceive only about, it sounds like a crazy number, like 8. We only perceive like 20% of what is coming at us at any time.
Yes.
Just like all those things, you know, how we imagine ourselves, how we imagine other people are imagining us, all that stuff.
Yes. Yeah. All the different versions of narratives that we're carrying around with us all the time have these elements that we're talking about, that spark of magic, that spark of the divine, spiritual, that spark of fantasy and futurism, and all of that is so evocative, I think, to every one of us. It speaks to this kind of collective unconscious that we're all tapped into at some level.
Oh, I love it. The power of art. Hear that, Canada Council?
Yeah. Side eye.
You're getting it. Can you talk about just like taking a little bit of, I want to respect your time too, as we kind of slide into a pseudo home base.
Okay. You're so good at this. Do you know you're so good at
Thank you.
Please keep this in. Don't cut this out. You're so
Christina, come on.
No, you're very good. You are so talented, and you've got another challenge in interviewing and doing a podcast. It's so cool.
I just love talking to people that I find fascinating and wonderful. And I feel like the reason I probably shared this on this podcast before, the reason I started it way back in, I think 2018 or 2019 was I kept having these wonderful conversations.
Yeah.
With folks. And then afterwards, I'm like trying to remember things that they said.
Yes.
And then it just occurred to me, oh, I got to record these things so that we can share. We can share like all these beautiful images that you're saying. And I'm interested. And you said this earlier, just like this current moment we're in and the importance of art and how you were feeling as artist, as human in like navigating. I feel like so many people these days, like bringing up this like horrible things, like the toxic masculinity, young people and the lack of focus and all this like, ugh. Do you have a feeling or a strategy or just what you're thinking about in terms of like where we're at in this moment?
Where we are at in this moment, such a moment where there's so much division and so much, of course, that is scary for all of us. So much that's anxiety provoking on a deep, deep existential level where we are all facing threats in our day-to-day experience of moving through the world. And then there are these overarching threats that are on our peripheral vision. Yeah. And sometimes they come collapsing in on us. And I think that when we're so anxious and we're so afraid, it does create a space where we can be so angry.
Yes.
And the anger is a reaction to our fear. So I think I try to remind myself that all the time. Sometimes the anger is authentic and warranted, and anger is a very powerful, beautiful emotion, and you use that anger to protect the people that you love and the people that need protecting. Please, 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 please.
Yes.
But there's also space to feel afraid, and that's also a perfectly reasonable, natural response to everything that's going on in the world right now.
Yeah.
I think one of the things that I tell myself is I want to intentionally, very intentionally, go towards joy in my creative practice, in my work as a psychologist. And I'm about to register as a psychologist. I'm in the process of registering. If the registration body here in BC is listening to this podcast, just FYI, I know I'm not a psychologist. I'm not claiming that I am. I am in the process of registering.
Paperwork.
This idea, though, that I am aware as a non-binary trans woman, when I tell stories I don't want to dwell in all of the antagonism
Right.
that is in the world right now. I get a whole bunch of antagonists for free, just walking around the planet. And we're all aware of that. We're all aware of that. So the narratives that we tell in this context, I don't need to put that on stage. Because you all know that, I all know that, other trans folks know that, however you identify, everyone's trans, but however you identify, you know that. And I think allowing ourselves the permission to go towards joy, even when that feels like a stretch or really impossible or feels uncomfortable, is so important, because that practice of reaching towards it allows for possibilities, right? Our emotions are meant to change. They're not meant to be stuck. They're not meant to not transform. And sometimes we do really intentionally have to reach towards other spaces, other possibilities. We can't wait for them to just kind of change for us. We can do that for ourselves by creating these possibilities of connection over different stories, over different emotions in the artwork that we're creating.
Oh, yeah. I feel like it's like essential. I feel like as an artist, also because I work in comedy too, and I feel like it's comedy and beauty and joy and pleasure are all like fucking subversive.
That's so clear in your work, how you use it as a subversive, that it is joy in and of itself can be a subversive tactic.
Exactly. And I think sometimes I don't know, like the narratives and the voices and the pain and anger has convinced us, I think there's, blame the patriarchy and colonialism and that whole camp of garbage that's convinced us somehow that beauty and joy and comedy and love and just spending time together is not life and world changing.
Yes.
It totally is.
Totally.
Right?
Totally. Yeah. Yeah. And we have these ideas that they're like these strict categories, right? Where I think like if you're leaning into trans joy or whatever joy that is for you, for me, my trans joy looks a lot like trans rage sometimes.
Sure.
And that's great that it takes that form. Sure. And like our joy can look like rage. It can look like some kind of revolt or rebellion. It can also look like really tranquil, or it can look neutral. There's so many different ways it can manifest.
Yeah. Oh, I love that so much. I mean, one of my deepest joys is heavy metal, is just going like this, which is, I mean, that's like, people look at that and it's like, oh, that's pure like rage. Yeah. But it's so communal. Yeah. It's so much love. It's just like the catharsis is real. Okay. I have just a couple more questions for this interview. We'll have to do another one at some point. Is there anything that you want to talk about that I haven't asked you about, or anything that's on your mind that you want to share?
I feel like we've covered so many different topics. I think one of the things that I am thinking about as I move through the day right now, though, is this anxiety that might be sitting in a lot of folks right now. Certainly it's sitting with me, this existential anxiety that we were talking about before. And I just really always want to urge folks to turn towards the people around them, to really talk through that and to not feel alone in that and to not feel isolated in that. And turning towards folks, if that feels like it's a lot to ask for yourself, if it feels like that's not possible because there aren't folks you could turn to, or there aren't folks that feel like they could hold that if you let them know, I would be curious about that. And wonder about whether maybe some of the folks around you actually could hold it. Or I would also try to reach out to other things that are happening in your community. Like going out to a live performance can be a form of healing practice. It can be healing to attend a live art event, whether some kind of mosh pit, like we were talking about before, or you're just sitting in the dark in an auditorium, watching someone move across a performance space. There's something healing in that. So I think I really I have been sending out this wish to everyone that I pass on the street that people are acknowledging all of those crunchy, uncomfortable feelings that I think might be a little bit chronic for us right now, and are able to use them to reach towards the people around them.
Oh, I love it. Yeah. Is there anything that you are doing, be it creative or just in your life, that's kind of giving you a little bit of levity or pleasure? Something you're cooking, a dorky show on TV, or like anything that's like, I really like this right now.
One thing I've already mentioned, celebrity traders.
Okay.
Go get some clips of Alan Carr being a trader on that show. That's not a spoiler because it's in the first episode.
Okay, awesome.
The idea of the joy that can come from a good reality TV show should not be understated. And I know it's a whole industry and a mechanism and whatever, but at least if it's celebrities, you're kind of like, well, you signed up. Knowing full well what you were getting yourself into. So we can celebrate that for them. The other thing that I'm really enjoying right now is this idea that I can try to reach out to these art forms that I have no experience in. Like, I'm really trying to allow myself space to collage visually.
Yes.
And also to learn to cartoon, which has been an ongoing project for me. And I really have no formal training in either of these areas. And that idea of like, I feel like as artists, we get so used to practicing in our veins, and we don't allow ourselves to go out to these other art forms, because for me, what comes up is like, well, that's not my thing. I don't do that. Other people do that. Leave it to the professionals, all of that, And I just find so much play and freedom in when I do allow myself to just get a whole bunch of magazines out and collage, or I try to make some cartoon doodles on a paper and just see how there's something so innocent about them. Because they're like, it's a squiggly line and it like is haphazard and it doesn't really look like any cartoon that anyone would recognize. And also I love that. I love it.
Oh, 100%. I think there's so much power in being an amateur.
Yes. I love being an amateur.
I love it too. Like, the older I get, the more I'm like, I want to do stuff I'm really bad at.
Yes.
Because there's just it's
Lean
so
into
fun.
that.
It's so fun. Yeah, I 100%. I love that. Thank you so much, Christina. This has been so much fun.
I've loved it.
And I will link to information about your shows.
Thanks.
Oh, yeah. So people can find you and find your work.
Thank you so much.
And that's our show for today. Thank you so much, Christina, for such a great conversation. I just love talking to Christina. Can't wait for our next interview. And we'll do a follow-up, I'm sure. And thank you. Thank you so much for listening, for taking the time. It really makes a difference knowing that you're out there. And please get in touch. We are on the Instagrams at Tara Cheyenne TCP, Facebook. I know I keep going, why Facebook? But I guess Tara Cheyenne Performance. You can email info@taracheyenne.com. Donate if possible, even a little bit. Talking Shit with Tara Cheyenne is a project of Tara Cheyenne Performance. It is produced, edited with original music by Marc Stewart. And you can get in touch with Marc at marcstewartmusic.com. And I shall leave you with this quotation from Tchaikovsky. You know, the composer? Quote, "Inspiration is a guest that does not willingly visit the lazy." Now, okay, let's just caveat that with rest doesn't equal lazy. I'm talking to you, Mom. I'm also talking to myself. But I think what he's getting at here is you just do the stuff. Do the stuff, and inspiration, it'll show up when it shows up. But we can't wait for inspiration to start. So please go out there, make shit up, take care of each other. We'll see you next time.
This podcast is effing good.
You can do AI to actually like make somebody say something they didn't say.
Really?
Yeah. So
Oh my God.
I know.
Or could you give me Cher's voice? Marc, can you edit it? Just make me sound like Cher for the whole time.
Okay, cool. Can you make me sound like Daniel Craig?
Can you imagine the podcast is between Tara as Daniel Craig and Christina as Cher?
Oh my God. That's a good show. That's a good show.